Screamed he was really angry. He killed a 6-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 24-year-old man while wounding many others. He was confronted by the police. He engaged fire with the police and was killed. What would make a 19-year-old man this angry? It's very hard to understand what could possibly be so wrong in somebody who's 19 years old in their life. Is it possible that in this school atmosphere of the, quote, participation trophy, where everyone is just precious and entitled, that the real world is a real chop buster for those who expect everything to be given to them? And you get out of high school and you're supposed to go on to make your career, whether you go into the trades, you go to college, you go to work. You don't come out and get an executive vice president position, which could be why he was angry. Nobody really knows. They can't seem to find any real motive. The thing that bothers me the most about this participation trophy atmosphere, kids are so precious, whatever. Yes, kids are precious. However, they are kids. They're young. They're not mature. Their thought processes are not cognizant. I work in an area where I see families come in, and I see the children, and I'm not talking about teenagers, I'm talking about 2-year-olds, telling their parents what they're going to do and acting out in a way in public that it just puts my teeth on edge, because I certainly didn't get to act that way, and my daughter didn't. But they act out so bad in public. And even when you have what would seem like a 2-parent situation, it's very stable, the parents are begging their children to behave. That never worked for me. It never worked for my mother. Because you're the adult. You're supposed to be in charge. Children don't know how to control their tempers. They don't know what's a good idea and what's a bad idea to a certain degree. You have to teach them good and bad and good and evil and try to mold their character into someone that you would be proud of at a later date. One thing that I blame, there's a lack of discipline in everyone's life that we had at a young age, because corporal punishment was still okay. Even in the schools, a couple of the years that I went, it was still okay, which was fatally embarrassing if you got a spanking at school, and you knew you were going to get in trouble when you got home. But when the schools began to teach that you could turn your parents in for quote-unquote abuse, that's giving the fox the keys to the hen house and the inventory control, because kids don't understand. I mean, my mother was a teacher for many years, and she had kids that would be angry with a step-parent or a parent, and they would say something which could ruin their careers and ruin their lives. And it was just because they were angry because they were disciplined more than they thought they should be, or they didn't get something that they want. And, I don't want anyone to be abused, but spanking is not abuse. Spanking is really just, pop on the behind. It's a consequence. You do this, you're going to get this to happen to you. Therefore, you start to think about what you're doing. And that's the whole beginning of maturity, is you step by step teach your children to think about what they're doing. My mother let it be known very quickly to me that me being mad certainly didn't affect her, and she could care less, and I'd better get over that before she decided to give me a real reason to be angry or upset. My father did the same thing. They tried very hard at a young age to make me go to the right path and think logically, and that's a good thing. Another thing that I blame some of this on is this ADHD drug epidemic. maybe this guy was on this. This is pure conjecture, but suppose he was on ADHD drugs, and then he becomes 18. He decides he doesn't want to take them anymore, or he doesn't need them, or maybe he really never needed them, or and they were just something to keep them quiet. I think a lot of students that are naturally boisterous, especially boys, but girls too, kids are loud. Kids need to play. Kids need to run around screaming because that's normal. When young boys jump off of things or go over ramps with their skateboards or their bikes, that's normal behavior. When you take that away from them, you change their development and you turn them into something that I think that they were never meant to be. Certainly it can't be, the reason for the shooting can't have anything to do with guns, because California has very strict gun laws. And then this guy cut the fence to go through to get into this festival. So he circumvented security. So how are the authorities supposed to take care of people at events like this if someone's circumventing the authority area? Criminals will always have guns. People that want to do harm, they can hurt you with a rock, they can hurt you with a knife, a bat, a 2x4, whatever they want. People that want to hurt people, they're going to find a way to do it. In fact, the only ones that are affected by gun control are law-abiding citizens, because criminals will always have guns. I have an article that'll come up sometime after the show today that talks about how ADHD drugs impede the very nature of boys, for example, and also girls, but they prevent them from normal development. And I think this is the detriment of our society, and part of the problem where everybody's all PC and so easily offended, and they get all upset. First of all, when you're a kid and you do things you're not supposed to, your parents are there to give you a consequence for that, so that you learn that you're not, the sun. Just because your mom calls you son doesn't mean the world revolves around you. You're supposed to have consequences for your actions. And like I say, by that you learn cognitive reasoning, that it's not a good idea to tell your mom to shut up because she's going to knock you into the next planet, which is, it's still not abuse in my book. I think that if you run that mouth, it's smack, right off the, right across the mouth. But that's just me. But we've lost what especially boys, and I feel like boys are especially targeted because the ADHD drugs do impede their very nature. And I think a lot of parents have sloughed off their responsibility and wanted to go to drugs because they want their children to be calm and quiet and things like that. What they need is some good outside time, like I said, so they can run around screaming, fighting, playing whatever they want to play. They need a lot of good physical activity. And as you know, schools have really dropped gym. We had gym every day from 2:30 to 4. And that meant running laps, it meant jumping jacks, it meant all kinds of activity that took a lot of aggression, I suppose, or boredom, or things when you could not figure out what was going on with your life. You were, by the time you ran enough laps and played field hockey and basketball and baseball, you were tired and probably didn't matter that much anymore. But I think that what we have come to is a generation of very non-aggressive men, which brings up why everybody gets so upset with President Trump. President Trump is the last generation of men, such as people that were born in the 40s and 50s. They grew up playing outside, going crazy, doing daredevil things. Plus, he's from New York, which makes a person usually more loud and confrontational than, say, someone from Georgia. I heard a woman my age, or maybe a little older, complaining this week about how Trump says things. Well, he's brusque. He won't sugarcoat it, and he gets right to the point. Here's the thing. That's the way men used to be. Lately, women have taken a lot of that because they've worked it out of the young men so that women are more aggressive, I think, than men. And all these things that I'm saying are my opinion, and you've got every right to disagree with me, but the way that Trump says things, it's not going to tickle your ears. It's going to be, left is left, right is right, middle, and that's it. I mean, he's not going to make it easy for you and make it all sweet and sugar-coated. The perfect example is this Baltimore dilemma where he's had a run-in with Elijah Cummings. Elijah Cummings is the representative from the district around Baltimore, and he attacked very vehemently the Homeland Security, acting Homeland Security. Do we have a picture of Elijah up there for us, Josh? He was very ugly, very hateful, saying all kinds of horrible things about what's going on at the border and the children at the border in the cages, blah, blah, blah. That's been going on since the Obama administration, but they're all decided to get all upset about it. Now, if you hit Trump, he's going to hit you back twice, and if you keep it up, he'll hit you back a third time. So he fired back that Elijah Cummings' district had rats and roaches and drug infestation, and it sucked, and it's true, it does, it's terrible. In fact, people like Bernie Sanders have said that Baltimore looks like a third world country, and as well as the former mayor of Pugh, she said that things were stinky because it was rat infested and they needed to take all this stuff down. Yet Trump is called a racist because I suppose Elijah Cummings is a man of color. And it seems to me that the word racist has become the new word for if you disagree with me. So that's what they're yelling at. Cummings started it, Trump finished it. The people of Baltimore are actually thankful that Trump has brought this attention to light. Even PBS has made a documentary previously called Rats about the area. Did anyone call PBS a racist? No, they haven't. Just because you disagree with me or I feel like your facts are incorrect, which many times they are, that doesn't mean you're a racist. I personally appreciate someone who's going to take care of their responsibilities to one who's going to be afraid to make waves or offend anyone. Speaking of offensive, we're going to come back and talk about the Democratic debates of the last 2 nights when we come back on the second half of the Freedom Zone. Please join us, and we'll take a break and be right back.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World. In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Zone, where the truth is set free whether you like it or not. I'm your host Candace, and I wanted to go over a few more things before we leave today. Did anybody watch the Democratic debates? Anyone? No, not me. I picked up a few blurbs afterwards because I figured that would probably be enough. If you watch the whole thing, it would be just too many barf bags, and I just didn't want to submit myself to that kind of drivel. I wondered, did anybody see any American flags on the stage? Did you? No, there isn't any. Did any of the candidates have any real solutions to anything at all? Not really. Is President Trump living in their head rent-free? Oh yeah, big time. My favorite was Tulsi Gabbard, though. She really busted the chops of Kamala Harris as far as her district attorney career, and that's pretty cool because Kamala Harris is so arrogant and thinks she's so much better than everyone else, but she's not. One thing that I thought was funny was Elizabeth Warren. She came up with some things about using the word racist, climate control racism, healthcare racism, I don't know, green bean racism, Tuesday racism. This is like racism ad nauseum BS. Everything can't be racist. As I said in the previous segment, racist is another word for when you disagree with me or don't like what I have to say. Whether I'm right or wrong, it's irrelevant. You're a racist. However, they did not mention Mueller an impeachment as much because Mueller was such a bomb last week, and he was not the key to the golden door to get Trump out of their head, which, as I said before, he's living there rent-free, and he must have a pretty nice apartment on every one of them because they can't seem to stop talking about him. They don't talk about the issues they talk about are their issues, but their solutions are just completely out in left field. I mean, you can't do what they're wanting to do because we can't afford it. It'd be like $200 trillion or whatever to go with this new Green Deal and the lack of fossil fuels and blah blah blah. Let me tell you, how are the farmers going to farm without their combines and their thrashers and disc harrows and all that? And what does that run on? It runs on diesel fuel. So if we don't have those fuels, and they haven't come up with an alternative that that would do the job, where is all the farm goods going to come from? Where's wheat for bread and vegetables and cows and chickens and all these things that have to have food to eat so that we can eat them? How is that going to happen? Is it just going to hold out your hands and go poof and there it is? I don't think so. It's probably one of the craziest things that they've come up with. Health care for all, especially and including illegal aliens, that makes no sense. Here's the thing: if you don't have insurance, any person, American citizen, somebody from somewhere else, blah blah blah, and you have an emergency, you go to the hospital. They're required by law to stabilize you. Now, they're not going to say, okay, well, I think we got the bleeding stopped, let's just let him die. No, they're going to continue to care for you, and at the end of your stay, they're going to present you a bill. They're going to offer you a very discounted rate from what you would pay if you had insurance so that they can get some money to continue running as a hospital, because hospitals are not supported by Medicare. They're supported by private insurance companies. The ones you pay into through your job, or if you've bought it on the exchange, probably no one will take it. But these are private insurance companies, and an aspirin, if you're paying cash, might cost you $1. If you're filing insurance, they charge you $20 for something simple like that. That's how hospitals make money. They have a lot of malpractice insurance to pay for because of all the people who, for example, women that are pregnant and they drink during their pregnancy, then their children have birth defects. They want to sue the doctor because there's something wrong with their child, even though a lot of it is some of their own actions that have brought it about. Not all, but some. But the Democratic debate was like a circular firing squad or some sort of cannibalistic nightmare. They all went after Joe Biden because he's got the better chance of winning, basically for name recognition. And I tweeted this out the other day. There are people like my late paternal grandparents. It doesn't matter. If Satan said he was going to be running on the Democratic ticket and he was under his full name, whatever you want to call him, bold as day, they would vote Democrat because they are going to vote Democrat no matter what. And I don't understand that mentality. I personally wouldn't vote for Satan for anything. But, there are people that it doesn't matter who's on the ballot. The D after their name makes the difference. Just like Pelosi said, in AOC's district, a glass of water with D after their name could probably win. And that's a very unthinking position, I suppose, if you want to be kind. You're not looking at the candidates and what they're up to. You're just going, oh boy, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote for that. And also one thing that I noticed with liberals and Democrats that are more left-leaning, or even if they're not, a lot of them are wealthy, and they feel like they should do something about poverty. But really, they don't want to get involved. They just want to do something about the poverty. So they said, well, I vote Democrat. There's lots of social programs to help people. Their conscience is assuaged and they feel better about themselves. It's another one of those virtue signaling kind of things that a lot of people on that side do. Yes, Republicans are more capitalistic. Yes, they're more into business and everything. And usually we're living better with them than we are with Democrats. during the last administration, every week, every month, for me, it was like spin the wheel, who's the lucky winner and gets paid this month? Because I've been out of work. Once you've been out of work for a while, you get behind. 2010, I was out of work twice because it was just a horrible year, and it just wasn't getting any better until Trump was elected in 2016, and it just didn't take any time at all till everybody's doing better. I think that he's one of the few presidents that's managed to get the feds to drop the interest rates of late. The bad thing about the feds is that we really don't need the Federal Reserve Bank, and that's who I'm talking about. I think we should find a better solution, but that's just me. Anyway, back to the Democrats. They had no solutions. They have no real ideas. First of all, there's really not a lot to fix right now because we've got a good economy. Probably we could work on health care. That would be great. I don't know how we're going to do that as far as health care for everybody. But the thing is, if you have to cash pay, you're still going to get health care. You're still going to be taken care of. You're just going to have to go and pay for your, you pay for the premiums, or you pay when you go to the doctor or the hospital. Nobody's being turned away. You've got blood pouring out of your leg and the bone sticking out. They're going to be, oh, no, you got no health insurance. No, they're going to take care of you. You're just going to have to pay for it. We pay for health care. We pay for the thing the hospital does for you to keep you stabilized. Either way, you pay. It's not like anyone is turned away and not given health care when they need it. So that's kind of a moot point and a crazy idea that they want to keep selling, is that people are turned away somehow for health care, and they're not. I know many people that don't have or haven't had insurance, and they just cash pay, and they do just as well. But back to the Democratic debate. They left off Mueller. They kind of backing off impeachment because there's really nothing in the Constitution that says because we don't like him, that should be construed as high crimes and misdemeanors, which it's not. But we still have the media going through the Russia thing, and one of the ones that are still on it, and God knows what's wrong with his head, is the Morning Joe from, I think that's ABC he's on. Mark Levin calls him the Morning Smo, and I tend to agree. He was repeating over and over about Moscow Mitch, and even to the annoyance of his colleague that was talking to him. They're talking about Mitch McConnell because he won't do this, he won't do that, he backs the president. Most of the time, I wouldn't call him a great ally, but he's there. So they're taking a man who's been in public service for all these years and dressing him up to look like he's some sort of Russian asset or something, which is absolutely crazy. But I have news for you, Morning Joe. You need to be careful because Mitch has a tough wife, Elaine Chao, Secretary of Transportation, and she will kick your ASS if you don't watch out, because she doesn't like it when you mess with her husband. I'm the same way. Don't mess with my man. I'll get you. So if you can run that video of her before backing down protesters, she's the one that's tough. So the Morning Joe had better watch out, or this finger is going to get in his face just like she did with these protesters and make you go away and leave her husband alone.
Why are you separating families? Huh? Why are you separating families? Why are you separating families?
Why did you leave my husband alone?
Why are you separating families?
Why did you leave my husband alone?
I'm not trying to disrespect you, but why is he separating families?
He's not.
I'm not trying to
Back up.
I'm not trying to
He's
disrespect you.
not.
He's separating families. He's separating forces.
You this
How does he sleep at night? How does he sleep at night? It is not a legal assignment. How does he sleep at night? It is not a legal assignment.
She's not going to put up with that. I wouldn't put up with it either. We need more people like Elaine Chao to get in people's face and say, no, I don't think you're going to treat us this way. You're not going to get in my face and scream because we disagree on stuff. And you better leave Mitch McConnell alone. I would like to know how long we're going to have to suffer through this coup crap that we have, because I think in a short time we'll have Bill Barr and John Durham, along with Michael Horowitz, who's the Inspector General. They have some reports coming out. They're investigating all these players from the upper echelon of the FBI and other things. In fact, I heard last night on breaking news that Michael Horowitz has recommended Comey for indictment on a couple of things, one of which Bill Barr's already waived, but that doesn't mean that's the only one that there is. And there'll be other recommendations for indictment, and those may not be waived. I'm really tired of hearing about all this. The thing I want to see is some people coming out in handcuffs. I want to see them indicted. I'm tired of this double standard. You know, some people can get along and not get indicted, and others, you know, they can sneeze and they get indicted. Lastly, I want to bring up our favorites, the 4 pissants of the apocalypse, which would be AOC plus 3. I call them the 4 pissants of the economy because pissants really don't bother anybody. They're just annoying. AOC is constantly crying that they are singled out as women of color. Well, what is color? I think you all know about crayons. I have some here. One of the crayons happens to be white. So if white's a color, that means I'm a woman of color. So don't ever disagree with me, because then I would have to call you a racist, which is ridiculous, and most people dismiss that as crap anyway. But I think that they are being called out because they're incorrect on many cases. But an interesting factoid on AOC, particularly in her New York district, the regional director of HUD, Lynn Patton, who is a woman of color, by the way, had to report this week that she had to shut down a children's day camp because rats were falling through the ceiling and hitting the desks and the floor and exploding because they were so decomposed, and this is gross, but they had maggots in them. And when everything like that, when that started happening, the people that were working there and the children were vomiting, and I would be vomiting too. So when you see AOC out there boo-hoo-hoo-hoo about the children at the border, ask her about her own children in her own district and how dangerous and nasty that has to be, because rats carry God knows how many diseases. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions, you can go through my sites at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and my email if you have a question. I'll be glad to hear from you. Also, pick up and look at my article on fetchernews.com this week on ADHD. I'm your host, Candace, and I'll be back with you next week to go over more things that you may or may not have heard about. We'll set the truth free next week. Thank you for joining us.